Good morning, everyone. This is day 2 of the Robot Junkyard build. Yesterday, I was getting ready to build my junk tower out of the big parts that I've scrounged, and my hot glue gun broke. So today, we're going to be doing some mold making. And these colors may give away what color scheme I'm going to use with this Robot Junkyard. Just one of the colors, just a hint, and we'll get back to these later. So I'm going to pause, I'm going to set up the cam with the tripod, and I'll let you watch me work for a little bit. Okay, so here we are again, and I've got some molds that I've ordered and collected over the years. And we just want to make sure that there aren't any hairs or lint balls on it, and it looks like there are a couple little lint thingies on here, because clay will pick up every little dang hair, and it's hard to pick them out of the clay later. So let's just go ahead and make sure our mold is clean. That mold's clean, and then I've got this mold, which my mother-in-law gave me. And it's got faces and hands and feet, and that might come in handy. This is what they look like, little gnome faces. Okay, so we've got these we can use, and I'm just going to keep the cover on it to keep it lint free. And I've got a bunch of this sculpting that I can make molds out of. But I've also got some really hard stuff I want to mix in there because I want these molds to last for a long time. And so I've got some really hard clay that I might have to have Michael help me knead because his hands are stronger than mine. And I have fibromyalgia, and sometimes my thumb area here likes to act up. But funny enough, one of my doctors said, well, you should need some clay. And this is also hard. And it's really ugly, so I want to try to use up some of my ugly hard clay with some of my softer old clay that I've had for a long time. So I've got this whole box of just normal Sculpey. And then I made this a long time ago, and this I think I'm going to actually use to make the faces and parts of the robots, because that I can kind of, and if you look real close, there's like lint balls in here. I'm gonna have to pick those out. Can you see those? Am I holding it close enough? I don't know. Well, anyway, see, I just kind of pick them out of there. It's important to have a clean workspace. That is important. Yes, indeed. And then I mixed up this stuff a long time ago too when I was making flying spaghetti monsters, and this was my formula. But I have long forgotten my formula, and I don't make those anymore. I'm making a Robot Junkyard, and I'm not going to save it for any particular reason. Oh, I just love that. Let me break it again. Okay. This is going to be nice to mold. See, even this is real hard, but even this, it's a soft clay, but I mixed it with some of that extra firm Sculpey, the flesh colored stuff, and it's got some tan and flesh colors in there. And when it baked, it made a nice cooked pasta look. Well, I'll be kneading this for a while. You don't want to watch me just knead clay. So I've got ugly clay to make molds with. I've got nice clay to make Robot Junkyards with, or to make the robots with in the junkyard. And I've got even more. This is like flesh stuff, and here is some more beige, basically. We might mix this beige with something harder to make a nice firm mold. Okay. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to spend some time kneading up this ugly clay, and when I come back, we'll start with the molds. And also, let's not forget that this is going to be, maybe I haven't told you yet, but this is going to be the robot at the top of the mountain of trash. This little, so it's going to kind of have like a baby doll head, and we're going to be making a mold out of this. But I won't be using the baby doll body, which maybe we'll find a use for this later, or maybe I'll take it apart and make molds with it later. So for now, let's put all these little pieces in a bag so we don't lose them. And I'll pause, and when we come back, we'll do some mold making. I really should have known better than to put that old hard gray clay in here, because now it's just turned into chunks that I can't get out of the clay. So I'm going to have to smooth it out with my pasta maker. I got it on the lowest, smallest, thinnest. I just can't get it in there. Come on. Well, maybe I'm going to have to make it a little bit wider. Make it a little wider. How about that? Come on now, go in there. Don't you want to go in your home? Also, you might remember that I was using that really old orange clay someone gave me. And it's Fimo brand, and I've never used that before, and I thought, well, what the heck, I'll mix it in, you know, I'm making a crazy mix. Well, I opened it up, and right away I wished I hadn't. It smelled so bad. And it's like this nasty chemical smell. Is it even going out? Are you even seeing anything? Oh yeah, a lump came out. Wonderful, one lump. You know, guys, I think I might have just been turning it the wrong way. You know, leave it to a left-hander to turn it the wrong way. So anyway, I got to do this with the clay and get all those gray chunks mixed in. They're really chunky. Maybe I can show you in the clay itself. Are you able to see those gray chunks? Well, you know, old clay will get soft if you just keep at it and keep at it. But I got to keep at it, you know. And I sat in the other room, and Michael was watching a zombie show, and I had him help me. This is exhausting. I had him help me work out the clay a little bit. I took a chunk and he took a chunk, and we both mixed it until the stuff around it was so soft it was just turning into mush. But this gray stuff, I'm telling you what, I should have known better. I did want it to firm up the clay, and the other clay was kind of soft, and even though it was old, it was like, you know, regular Sculpey. It wasn't super Sculpey. This gray stuff is super firm Sculpey, and it was old, you know. Sorry, I'm off screen trying to mold this, but see how lumpy that is? I can't make molds out of that. So I'm going to sit here and pasta machine it for a while, if I turn it the right way, and just try to, I set down some parchment paper to help me with keep the clay off my mat here. Oh, look, it's going through. So now that it's gone through this level a couple times, I'm going to run it through the thinnest level a couple times and really give it a good squish. Okay? And then I'll be back, because I'm sure this is boring. Okay, so I've done it a few times. I've put it through, and now look at the consistency. Oh yeah, it's getting nice and smooth. I still see some lumps, and we don't want those lumps, because when we're making molds, it's got to be nice and even. But see, when I'm pulling it apart, you can definitely see it. So let's run it through just a couple more times until it's smooth like butter. I long ago lost the clamp that clamps it to my desk, so I have to be both clamp and pusher. Ooh, look at this, starting to look like roast beef. Mmm. It's making me hungry for lunch. Look at how smooth it is. Okay, so a couple more times like this. I'm gonna run it through and we'll be back. Okay, we're back. And our clay is nice and soft. Can you see this? Nice and soft clay. And it's all well mixed and it's very firm. So like I was saying, you can add some old, firm, hard clay even if it seems like it's hard as a rock. And this really is hard. Let me show you. See, it's that hard, like can break. I don't even want to break a chunk of it off because it'll just get everywhere. Okay, so you can incorporate those into your older clay and mix it up until it's good and soft, and if you can't do it with your hands, use a pasta maker like I did, a pasta machine. Okay, so now it's nice and soft, so we can get ready, and I got myself a parchment paper, a piece of parchment paper, and I just have to figure out what I want to do first. So I've decided that one of the major pieces of the Robot Junkyard is going to be a robot at the top of the hill sticking out. But we're going to build the face today. So I've got my clay nice and rolled out, and here's my subject. And I think I got this on Wish for like $1 or $2, I can't remember. So I'm going to get out a little, where did I put that thing I made earlier? Oh, here it is. So I made this with cornstarch. Ooh, it's got a little bit much, out of muslin. And we're going to like just lightly tap this till it's kind of got like an all over, you know, more stuff is coming out than I expected with this little muslin cloth. So maybe this wasn't the right tool, but anyway, we'll take a brush and we'll clean it up. But we want to get cornstarch all around, and it's got some funky mold issues there, but mold as in the kind of molds we're making today, not molds as in green and fungusy. Okay, so let's get a brush, a big brush, and just kind of brush some of these little chunks off. We just want to make sure that this baby doll's head is coated, but it doesn't have big chunks. And even if it does, you know, it's no big deal because I can sculpt around it later. But you know, I want to be able to use this head more than once. So let's just go ahead and make a mold out of it, is what I thought. So I'm going to stick this baby doll's head in here, and we'll see what happens. Okay, I've never done this before, and you're in this with me, aren't you? So let's just go ahead and stick her little face in there. I think it's gonna be a girl, and I don't. comes the moment of truth. Did our mold work? So we're going to pull out the baby's head and hope that we made a good impression. Uh-oh, an ear popped out. You know, I didn't think about the ears. You know, I guess that might be a rookie mistake. Okay, come on, baby. Come on out. Let's go, come on. Oh, I had to move it around, the clay around its ear a little bit to release it. So we might end up with wonky ears, but you know, sometimes robots don't have ears. Oh boy. I don't think I pushed in enough in the eyes and nose and mouth part. And it looks like there's a little bit of an air bubble right there. So let me show you. Let's see what happened. Can you see that? Yes, it made an impression, but I don't think it made a good enough impression. And I don't think I like the ears here. So let's start over, okay? There's nothing wrong with admitting that you made a mistake the first time. But, you know, sometimes you just got to do something more than once to figure out how it's done. I think we have a good start, though. So let's just go ahead and mash, mash, mash. Mash, mash. And it doesn't matter if a little cornstarch gets in there. Bake just fine. Cornstarch is a good releaser. And as you can see, there's like hardly any. There's only a mark where I cut, where I had issues with the ears. But I think maybe this time I'll do it a different way. And we'll try to do it just the face part, just this little round part here. And we'll see how that works. Mash, mash, mash. Try not to have any air bubbles and that kind of thing in your clay. Sometimes running it through the pasta machine will eliminate those, but when you mash it again with your hands, you kind of introduce more air bubbles, so you want to kind of be careful of that. In the biz, they call those moonies. Alright, so I've got another flat surface, and okay, so this is what I'm talking about with air bubbles. I'll bring it up close to you so you can see. Oh, where can you see that? See that little air bubble? If you pop it, you see it's just a little air. So you sometimes end up with those little pockets. So you want to be careful with those. Okay, so let's try this side. This side has the lines in it from when I mashed. But that's okay. We can work with those. Is that about the thickness I had before? Oh dear. Moonies, moonies, moonies. Let's make sure we have a nice, very even surface to deal with here, so that we don't have any holes, we don't have any little yucky pieces pop in, and then we'll once again take some cornstarch and lightly dust our dough. Yeah, I think I got this on Wish. I can't remember how much, but that was before Wish did me wrong. Yeah, I'll go into that later. I'm sure we've all had issues with suppliers. I try not to spend a lot of money on my art, and I think that you don't really have to be a good artist. I do consider myself a fairly good artist. But it's taken a long time to get here. I really like this baby's tiny little pouty thing that it's got going on. Let's try this one more time, okay? Here we go. And maybe some of you at home watching will be able to tell me if I'm doing something totally wrong here. But let's just try to make an impression. And see how that goes. Let's just try to kind of mold it around its baby face. And we'll stop at the ears. See there? I'm going to stop there at its ears. I'll just kind of work it in. I don't want it to be too thin because I do, maybe I'm rolling it too thin. Oh, Didn't think about that, did you, Reed? Okay, let's just kind of do it a little more, because I want to have this robot's head be, you know, head shaped. And I can always mold it later, but let's try. So see, I'm just barely getting its little chin in there, and that's where a lot of the detail is. So let's see if I can get it in there just a little bit more. You know, I don't want to squish it so that it's, you know, too thin, but I want to squish it so that it's in there. It makes a good cast. I feel like I'm seeing some little pieces here that might be baby face, so I hope I'm doing a good job this time. Okay, let's try again. I think I've mashed it enough. Now I've got just the head. Can you see? I'm sorry. You see I just got the little face and head in there. Let's try to cut some of this excess off before we pull it out. It's just needless. I probably should have had a bigger knife, but try not to cut yourself. Yeah, I haven't ever cut myself on a dental tool. See, it's still pretty chunky, you know. I think maybe I'm doing a good job this time. All right. Let's try that. Oh, let's try to cut some of this off the bottom here. I don't want to waste clay either. I have lots of other molds to make, and I don't want all of it to go into making this dang baby head. Robot head. It will be a robot. A girl robot, I think we decided, right? Okay. So I think this time I did get a little bit the ears, but I think maybe it's a better cast. So I'm ready to pull it out. Okay, let's try. Let's see what happened. Oh, already a crumble. Right behind the baby's ear. Let's just get that out so it doesn't fall into our mold later. Okay. Gently, gently, gently. Oh, please turn out. I want that baby's face in there. And as I was saying, I don't think that pink should just be used for girls. Boys can like pink too. Oh, I did better. Oh, look at that. You can even see a little bit of the... Let me just dust it off in there. Oh, that's better. You guys. Look at that. Okay, ignore the ear. Because the ears I'm going to chop off, right? But I think I did a good mold this time. If I can get it under the light. Can you see that? Oh, I don't know if you can see it. I don't know. I'm going to not mess with it too much, but I think I did a good job, guys. Okay. So, now that we have our mold, I am going to do a little more trimming, and we're going to bake it. Because it's going to be pressed into that little spot. So I'm going to do some cleanup. And since we cut around that side, we might as well cut this side too. I guess now if I want to have ears, I can have robot ears, but I don't think this robot's going to have ears. I think it's going to have some form of speaker in its mouth or something. We don't know. But now we have a mold and we can do anything we want with it. So what I think I'll probably do is I will make a bed of cornstarch in this glass bowl. I'll try not to get it everywhere. And you can cook corn. Oops, I did get it everywhere. Oh, that's just like me. Making a mess, running amok. Okay, so now we've got our nice little bed of cornstarch. And we've got our baby's head. And, you know, we might put a couple more molds in this before we bake it. But I'm going to just kind of gently put it in there. And make sure that it's formed properly. And then this will allow it to bake in the oven without having any any of those little flat shiny spots that you get with polymer clay. So we'll set that aside, and now I've got, you know, a mixture of polymer clay and cornstarch all over my fingers, so I'm just going to use a quick cleanup while I talk to you for a minute. So I'll take the rest of this clay, and I'll continue to make little pieces and bits and parts, and I've got lots of those things around. I thought about making a mold out of this, but I think instead I'll just use this part in this as a little carousel, or maybe a little Barbie doll type horse little toy or something. So let me set this aside. So remember that everything in this junkyard is going to be, you know, miniature, and I haven't yet decided on the scale, like, you know, should I make it a 1/12 the size or what? So I think that's kind of basically going to depend on a couple things. How big I can make my my tower of junk, and how big the little robot turns out. So I have an adult body for the doll head, for the robot head, and I can either paint this and make this look like a robot, or I can take it apart and cast molds out of it. And I really think that because I bought this so cheap, and because I have so many other molds to make for little robot parts and things, that I'm actually just going to paint this. So it's got some lines that will make perfect little marks for like robot joins, and it's posable, so it'll fit into my junkyard however I want to put it in there. So I think I've decided. And you know, it's gonna kind of have like a little, like this type of head, and we'll try to make the breastplate a little more robotic, and maybe we'll break off a piece here or there. We'll have those scattered in the junkyard, like they just naturally fall off over time, and maybe have some wires and things hanging out. But anyway, so I'm going to take a break for now. That's it for day 2, unless I do a little bit more filming later, and in which case I'll just make another video. Thanks for joining me. This is Saya Reed signing out.